Let's get to Mario Cristobal, who's going to join us now. Coach, how we doing?
I'm doing great, guys. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Thank you for the time. Did you? We were talking a little bit before. I hate this for you that you have to go out and you have to make the case. Did you ever think that you would be 10-2 and you would have a win against a team and you would have to actually try to validate a resume and a team that you already beat?
Well, it's kind of interesting. I felt like a year ago we had to almost campaign and debate things a little bit because everybody had, right, some valid points. And now this year, I think it's just a matter of continually presenting the facts, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it's two teams with the same record, right? Common opponent, identical metrics, and we played the game, right? We played the game. And we won the game. We won the game. So, and when you take a deeper dive into the other stuff, it just continues to point that we have the opportunity, respectfully, presenting our case to be best and most deserving should things shake out a certain way tomorrow.
Yeah, I hate this because it almost feels like you disparage Notre Dame, and then everybody, it's kind of where we are now. We've heard these coaches making the case, and it feels like you're taking the shots against the opponent. I know you're not doing that, but I do look at this and some of the points that I've heard for Notre Dame, even by the committee, is they're so impressed that they've won 10 games in a row. But when you dive in and you look at those 10 games that they've won, their competition hasn't exactly been stellar, and they did have the two losses against the only two games, the decent teams that they played, good teams that they played, was you and Texas A&M. How do you think you guys would have done if you would have been able to play those 10 games in a row the way they did?
Yeah, no doubt. I agree with you. I would never disrespect another opponent. These are all really good teams we're talking about right here. But I guess the best way to put it is the way that I'm sure like all of us have been raised in the sport of football. I wouldn't waste a second of your time on this show had we lost that game and I was trying to somehow, manipulate the information and almost pretend that it didn't happen. So that's where, we stand on it. I'm excited for our players and I think everybody knows, like, in the history of the CFP, never once has a head-to-head been unvalidated where the team that lost the game was advanced and the team that won the game was held behind. So I just still think it's a matter of continually just presenting our information in a convincing manner, because when you dive deeper into the metrics, which I think metrics are used when there isn't a head-to-head, but our case is further supported by all of that stuff as well.
No doubt. When you talk about your losses, you guys lost to SMU and Louisville, and I can't stand the way that people talk about those losses as if SMU and Louisville aren't very good programs. They both have been in the top 25. They're both going to finish the season at 8-4. Like, those are good teams that you guys played against. How much should that factor in, the fact that your losses and who they were and how actually those teams are much better than the perception of them by the committee?
Well, again, I think it's a matter of what we just kind of mentioned of when we present our case. I don't think that there's anything that could be postured or manipulated to deny the fact that we're both 10-2 and we both played each other and settled it on the field to be able to get to this point with the number one criteria in all of sports, the head-to-head backed up by any common opponent. So, to me, respect the game of football. The games that you win, respect your opponent. The games that you lose, give them their respect as well. And certainly we had a really good schedule, one that was more challenging. And certainly our resume is one that shows that we are best and most deserving between the two teams.
The other thing I've heard from the Notre Dame side is they were a different team. It was their first game. It was also your guys' first game of the season, which I think people overlook. Carson Beck, that was his first game in that system. And I think you guys are a much better team than you were in week one. How much better are you right now than you were to start the football season?
Well, I love that question because week one we had, I believe, 7 or 8 new starters on defense, a brand new defensive coordinator, a quarterback coming off a very significant surgery with 5 new offensive starters. And heck, in that span right there, in those first 4 or 5 games, we were number 2 in the country. We are way better now than we were back then. And I'll forward it to you so I don't take up too much time on your show, but every single line item, every single metric, offensively and defensively, shows that both of our units are playing at a top 2, 3, 5, and no further back than 8 level. And our special teams back that up as well. Our quarterback has had the most touchdown passes, best completion percentage. Our defense is at a top 5 level. We actually are the 7 starters that we were missing in the middle of the season. We have 6 of them back now, and we get the other one back here in another 4 or 5 days or so. So we are significantly better now than we were when we had our game against Notre Dame.
So Hunter Yurachek, the spokesman for the committee, he keeps noticing how you guys are closing the gap. It's almost, I can't say it because I feel like he's like handing you guys a cookie. Like, look, we are recognizing that they're there. And I still worry that they're not going to do the right thing, which is put you guys over. Do you think they're listening? Like, are they paying attention? Do you think if BYU loses and they're knocked out, and you guys get right there, line by line, like right next to each other? And I have to believe the coaches in that room and the former players would finally step up and say, these teams played. Do you feel like you guys have gained enough momentum and closed that gap enough where we actually might see them do the right thing on Sunday?
Yeah, the truth always finds a way. And I think you have to trust in that. And the fact that never in the history of the CFP have they not rewarded the head-to-head winner, And I think about this too, and, we all played the game. We all did. And in the craziness of this day and age, right, transfer portal, NIL, there are coaches that are being announced at one place when they start to come back and coach in the postseason at their former place. With all the stuff that's going on, who's paying the price most? The players are. So if we take away the value of winning football games from our players, from our sport, the number one goal of anything and everything competitive, if we find a way to take away that value, man, it is that's the type of damage that you just don't recover from.
Do you think we see a fix to this anytime in the near future? I know there's been some conversation. Maybe they expand to 16. I don't know if that'll help because we still have a committee selecting them. I wish we could find a way to play it on the field. How do we solve this so we don't have this become like an invitational and more of a beauty pageant where we can actually just have the results on the field dictate the best teams in the country?
I think, and you've seen it over the years, right? The more we lean towards the NFL model, and the more things that we pick up from the NFL, whether it be game rules, regulations, and whatnot, the calendar certainly doesn't fit. But as it relates to the postseason, the NFL model certainly seems to have the right answers and eliminates most of the doubt, right? And certainly allows people to play it out. And because right now this is a current model, really the season is that play it out model. And that's, again, why I lean on the fact that, man, besides the same record and the common opponents, the head-to-head, man, we were able to get that done. And I think at the end of the day, whatever model we go to, head-to-head will be at the forefront.
Coach, I must say, as a Florida State guy, it does pain me a little bit to make the case for you guys, but I believe in the principle of honoring what happened on the field, and I watch you guys smoke us up there in Tallahassee. And here's the thing, too. I think if you guys do get in, and I really hope you guys do, I think you could do some damage. I think you guys are playing some of the best football. The game against Pitt was probably your most complete performance of the season. I hope to see you guys in there, and I think you could do some damage, and I do appreciate the time. Thanks so much for joining us, Coach.
I appreciate you. I know, we battle once a year, to the fullest and whatnot, so I appreciate you taking the time for having me on. And the Hurricanes, again, just please watch the film when you get a chance. Watch the metrics of the offensive lines and defensive lines when we got a chance to play each other. And watch the metrics. I'll send you a copy of everything Miami's done as to close out the season. It's tough to find a hotter team in the country.
Totally agree. Appreciate it, Coach.
Appreciate you guys.
Mario Cristobal, incredible interview, by the way. Stating his case over there, point blank, and I'm putting you on the spot here. Is Miami going to be in or out? Cardell, what do you think?
I'm standing on the table for Miami in this situation because everything Coach Cristobal just said, I wholeheartedly agree with. And that's not saying Notre Dame isn't as deserving or isn't as a good team. But when you look at the true metrics, and especially the last 4.5, 5 weeks of the season, Miami has been playing the best football of any team, not just in the ACC, but all of college football. Carson Beck completed nearly 80% of his passes, getting guys back healthy at the right time. Those are the metrics we need to start taking into account for these selections because This is a completely different team from week one. I'm standing on the table for Miami. I wish I had a vote and a seat at that table because Miami Hurricanes' resume to this point versus Notre Dame's is just as impressive. You got to give them the head-to-head nod.
There is a chance all of this is a moot point, right? That Notre Dame and Miami could be on the outside looking in. But if the necessary pieces fall into place and you do see it's Miami versus Notre Dame, I have to believe, and I reference it with Coach, that the coaches in that room and the former players that played the game and realized the importance of what happens when you play each other, I would have to believe that they would go ahead and make that jump over Notre Dame. I have to believe that they do that. And I haven't, like, for the whole time, I've been like, man, I think Miami's going to get screwed. But I do think enough people are getting out there and they're finally starting to notice that common sense needs to prevail. And common sense says the Miami Hurricanes should be in the playoff. It's between them and Notre Dame.
Common sense doesn't always prevail, but we will certainly wait and see. All right, coming up next after the break, we're going to talk about this matchup where we are right now in Indianapolis. Number 1 and number 2, the Big Ten Championship. We're going to break that down after the break here out in Indy.